There are moments in your life when you feel stuck, overlooked, and under-resourced. It seems like no opportunity is knocking, and your hands are empty while your heart remains full of dreams. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean God isn't working. In the background of your struggle, heaven is arranging supernatural provisions. God is opening financial doors you haven't even imagined yet. He is setting keys in motion that will unlock favor, provision, and overflow in your life. What looks invisible today will become undeniable tomorrow. God rarely makes his moves obvious at first. Just as he sent ravens to feed Elijah by a brook, he often provides in ways that don't look like provision. It might be a conversation that turns into a contract, a delay that becomes divine redirection, a closed door that reroutes you toward abundance. What feels like nothing is often God hiding something in plain sight, preparing you for a miracle disguised as ordinary. In the economy of heaven, silence does not mean stillness. What looks like a season of inactivity is often the foundation for supernatural movement. When you feel stuck, unseen, or left behind, God is actually building something in secret. He's setting things up in places you haven't entered yet. That job you applied for and forgot about, God hasn't forgotten. That idea you scribbled in a notebook months ago, heaven is breathing on it while you sleep. The resources you're praying for are being gathered in rooms you haven't walked into. God is already ahead of you, preparing people, opportunities, and strategies you can't yet perceive with natural eyes. You see, God's provision doesn't always arrive with trumpet sounds or fireworks. Sometimes it looks like obscurity. Sometimes it looks like rejection. Elijah didn't have a 5-star meal brought by servants. He had scraps brought by birds. But it was enough. It was exactly what was needed for the journey ahead. God's methods don't always match your expectations, but his promises always fulfill their purpose. What you need will arrive when you need it, not when you want it. There is a financial door God is opening in your life that you cannot currently see, not because you are blind, but because he has hidden it for a season so that it can be revealed in the right moment. He doesn't want the enemy to detect it too early. He doesn't want fear to contaminate it. He doesn't want doubt to sabotage it. That's why he moves in silence, in mystery, in a realm above human comprehension. God doesn't operate on your calendar or your clock. He operates on covenant. And when the appointed time arrives, everything he promised will show up right on schedule, fully funded and divinely protected. There is someone reading this who feels like they're running out of time, of strength, of money, of hope. But I declare over you right now, you are not running out. You are running into. You are running into a season of open doors. You are running into divine acceleration. You are running into favor that you didn't earn but were chosen for. What's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. That drought in your finances isn't permanent. It's preparation. Just like the widow of Zarephath who thought her last meal was her end, God is about to turn your not enough into more than enough. But the provision won't always come in the form you're expecting. That's why you must stay sensitive to the Spirit. Don't dismiss small beginnings. Don't despise humble doors. The ravens may look like scavengers, but they carry supply. The brook may seem like a place of isolation, but it's actually your divine intersection with heaven's supply chain. Sometimes God has to pull you away from the crowd to reveal what only you can receive. He doesn't want you distracted. He doesn't want you dependent on people for what only he can provide. When Joseph was sold into slavery, it looked like his life had been dismantled. But in reality, God was repositioning him. The prison wasn't the end, it was the hallway. The pit wasn't his grave, it was his elevator. He was walking through invisible doors that didn't look like progress, but were full of purpose. The famine that devastated others became the stage for his financial breakthrough. And not just his breakthrough, but a breakthrough that preserved nations. What if your current trial is actually the womb of your financial testimony? What if your pain is packaging the platform God will use to reveal his provision? You've been praying for open doors, and God is answering you. But his answers don't always look like doors. Sometimes they look like delay. But what is delay to you is design to God. He's teaching you to discern. He's training your eyes to see beyond the surface. He's developing your faith muscle so you can carry the weight of the blessing when it comes. If He gave it to you too soon, you'd collapse under the pressure. So He's maturing your trust. He's letting you grow in the dark so your roots can go deep. There's a reason farmers don't dig up seeds after planting. The soil looks like silence. The dirt looks like darkness. But beneath it, something is growing. Your financial future is growing beneath what looks like buried failure. God is hiding it not to deprive you, but to protect it. Not to punish you, but to preserve it. You are about to reap what you haven't even seen sprouting. Suddenly, what was underground will become undeniable. Suddenly, the phone will ring. Suddenly, the deal will close. Suddenly, the door will swing wide, and you'll realize it wasn't sudden at all. It was strategic. It was sacred. It was God's timing. You don't need to beg God for what He's already promised. You just need to align with His process. That means stewarding what you have. That means being faithful in obscurity. That means staying grateful even when the account is low, because gratitude is currency in the kingdom. Heaven doesn't respond to complaining. It responds to faith. It responds to expectation. If you carry expectancy in your spirit, the windows of heaven won't stay shut for long. There are rooms being prepared for you. There are tables being set with your name on them. And yes, there are financial doors about to open that are bigger than your resume, larger than your last mistake, and stronger than the forces that have tried to hold you back. But to access them, you must stop measuring the invisible with human metrics. Stop asking how. Start declaring who. Because it's not your job to figure it out. It's your job to walk it out. You don't need to know every step. You just need to take the next one. God is not trying to make you rich. He's trying to make you ready. Riches without readiness become ruin. But when you're ready, the riches don't rule you. You steward them. You multiply them. You use them to bless others. You become a vessel, not just a vault. And that's why God is doing it this way. That's why the process feels hidden. Because He's not just releasing money. He's releasing maturity. He's releasing identity. He's showing you who you are without the applause, without the check, without the open door. Because if you can believe in the valley, He can trust you on the mountaintop. I feel this deeply. Someone is on the verge of a financial breakthrough, but you're also on the edge of giving up. The enemy has tried to use weariness to cloud your vision. You've questioned if you missed God. You've wondered if you were foolish for believing in something you couldn't see. But hear me, you are not wrong. You are not delusional. You are not dreaming in vain. What God spoke is still active. His word has not returned void. It's just moving through realms you can't access yet. He's dealing with the people who will fund your vision. He's orchestrating the timing that will maximize your impact. He's even working on your enemies so that when the door opens, there will be no sabotage, no delay, no drama. It will be clean, clear, and consecrated. What's for you will find you. You don't have to force it. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to manipulate it. Rest in the knowledge that heaven never loses track of its own. And let me say this, financial blessing is not just about luxury, it's about legacy. It's about breaking cycles. It's about proving that you can prosper with integrity, that you can be blessed and still be holy. It's about demonstrating that poverty is not purity and wealth is not wickedness, because when God blesses, He adds no sorrow with it. Your increase will not cost you your peace. Your overflow will not steal your sleep. It will be God's doing, and it will be marvelous in your eyes. So if you're walking through a dry place right now, don't curse it. Bless it. Because that dry place is the proving ground. That hidden season is where you're being shaped into someone who can not only receive the blessing, but protect it. Doors that open too early can be dangerous. But doors that open in God's timing are unstoppable. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are in the waiting room of favor. Keep tithing, keep giving, keep serving, keep believing, keep writing the vision, keep preparing like it's already here, because God is opening financial doors you can't see yet. And when they open, your life will never be the same. He's not just opening a door, He's shifting your entire dimension. You're about to go from borrower to lender, from overlooked to oversupplied, from scraping by to standing in overflow. And it won't make sense to those around you, but it will make sense in the Spirit. So lift your head. Lift your faith. Lift your expectation. God's silence is not His absence. His delays are not His denials. And His methods may be mysterious, but His promises are certain. The door is closer than you think. And when it opens, everything will change. You won't walk into the provision God has for you with fear, doubt, or anxiety. You will walk in by faith. That is not just a poetic line. It is a principle that governs the way heaven delivers what earth is not yet ready to carry. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." That scripture isn't just theology. It's the architecture of divine movement. It tells you that what is invisible is not imaginary. It's real. It's already in existence. You just haven't reached it yet. You are not waiting on God to create it. You are moving toward what's already been finished. God opens doors you can't see when you trust Him beyond what you can understand. That financial release you've been crying for, that overflow you've been fasting for, that opportunity you've been journaling about, praying about, sowing into, it's not stuck in a delay. It's waiting in a dimension that only faith can access. The door is open. You just haven't caught up to it yet. But the catch is this: you'll never arrive at what God has prepared by walking in the direction of fear. Faith is not just believing that the door exists, it's walking like it's already open. You walk like the answer is waiting, not like you're begging for crumbs. You walk like a child of the King, not like a slave of your circumstances. There are seasons where your senses betray you. Nothing around you looks like favor. The account looks empty. The bills look higher than your peace. And every email feels like another door slamming shut. But that's when faith becomes more than a sermon. It becomes your oxygen. That's when you stop relying on what you feel and start trusting what you heard. Because faith doesn't begin when you see it. Faith begins when God says it, and when He speaks, creation bends to obey. When He says there's provision, it's not a maybe. It's not a potential. It's already real. It's just waiting for your feet to agree with what your mouth declared. Abraham walked with faith long before there was evidence. He left everything familiar without a map, without GPS, without a clue where he was going, because he had a word. That's all. A word. And that was enough. God said, "Go," and he walked. Can you walk when all you have is a word? Can you get dressed for a harvest that hasn't bloomed yet? Can you act like the contract is signed even when the ink hasn't touched the page? Faith isn't pretending. It's not ignoring reality. Faith acknowledges reality but believes God anyway. It sees the mountain and keeps walking. It sees the storm and still builds. It sees the lack but refuses to shrink. God is testing your walk right now. He's asking if your pace matches His promise. He's asking if your posture reflects your prophecy. You say you believe Him, but does your attitude agree? Do your actions align? Faith without works is dead, not just because of inaction, but because fear often disguises itself as logic. Faith steps out when logic says sit down. Faith gives when fear says save. Faith applies when others say there's no point. Faith moves when your history says stand still. What you're praying for has already been spoken in the heavens. It's not that God is trying to make up His mind. He already said yes. But His yes often requires your walk. Joshua didn't see Jericho's walls fall while standing still. They fell after obedience, after movement, after walking around what seemed immovable. What if your next financial breakthrough is waiting on your next step of faith? What if God is watching to see if you can give out of lack, invest without return, obey without applause? There is a rhythm to faith. It moves. It doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. If you're waiting for the right time to believe, you'll wait forever. Faith makes time bend. Faith shifts timelines. Faith pulls tomorrow into today. You don't need to see a door to believe it's open. You need to walk like it's already swinging toward you. That business you're scared to start, that ministry you've delayed out of fear, that gift you've buried because people wouldn't understand, step out. Because as you walk, the way will appear. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to move your foot. Fear, on the other hand, always freezes. It magnifies the unknown and minimizes God. It tells you it's wisdom when it's really worry. It makes you play small when heaven has called you to rise. But let me tell you something. Fear will rob you of doors that were already open. You don't have to slam the door. Fear will close it for you. That's why God won't let you go forward in fear. He'll keep you at a standstill until your faith is louder than your excuses. You're not waiting on a bank loan. You're not waiting on the right investor. You're not waiting on an apology from the person who betrayed you. You're not waiting on the economy to turn. You're waiting on your own faith to rise. Because when you believe, really believe, not just with words but with action, heaven backs you. Favor flows. Divine connections start finding you. Ideas sharpen. Clarity arrives. Strategies unlock. Not because the environment changed, but because your posture did. God doesn't need the environment to cooperate before He blesses you. He made water flow from a rock. He made manna fall in the desert. He made oil keep pouring from a jar that should have run dry. He made coin appear in a fish's mouth. If He can do all that, He can bring provision from places you never expected. But will you trust Him even when you can't trace Him? Will you praise Him before the breakthrough? Will you sow before the harvest? Will you walk while the terrain is still unclear? Faith means risking your comfort. Faith means looking foolish sometimes. Noah built an ark with no rain in sight. People laughed, but when the flood came, the ark floated while their doubts drowned. Don't let the opinions of spectators stop your construction. Build anyway, prepare anyway. You're not crazy, you're called. And God never calls you to walk by what makes sense. He calls you to walk by what He said. Every step of faith attracts spiritual resistance. Don't be surprised when warfare increases. That just means the door is closed. The closer you get, the more hell fights you. The more discouragement whispers. The more delays try to convince you it's over. But let me tell you, faith doesn't fold under pressure. Faith stands firm. Faith plants both feet and declares, even if I don't see it yet, it's mine. Even if it hasn't arrived, I'm still moving. Provision is not always a check in the mail. Sometimes it's the strength to keep building. Sometimes it's the courage to keep giving. Sometimes it's the divine nudge that reminds you, don't stop now. You're closer than you think. You won't always see it first, but you'll feel it. That peace in your spirit when you should be panicking, that's evidence. That unexplainable confidence that keeps rising even when the numbers don't add up, that's evidence. That door that didn't open because God had something better, that's evidence. Walk like the door is already open. Pray like it's already done. Give like it's already yours. Speak like it's already been settled. Because in the Spirit, it has. And the more you walk by faith, the more you align yourself with what heaven has already made real. Earth catches up to what heaven released the moment you start walking as if it's finished, not as if it's still up for debate. God doesn't tease. He doesn't show you visions of abundance so you can live in lack. He doesn't give you dreams to frustrate you. He gives you glimpses of the promise so you'll keep walking. He gives you previews so you don't get stuck in the pain. Don't settle in the desert when you were promised the land. Don't make camp in survival mode when overflow is waiting on the other side of your yes. Faith isn't loud. It doesn't always come with shouting or dancing. Sometimes faith looks like showing up when no one claps. Sometimes it's smiling while the storm is still raging. Sometimes it's applying again after you've been rejected 10 times. Sometimes it's giving your last. Not because you're reckless, but because you know heaven has never failed to refill an obedient vessel. God has never been late, not once, but He does move at the speed of faith. And if you dare to believe Him, dare to walk forward even with trembling hands, dare to build even when it's hard, you'll find yourself standing in places you only used to dream about. You'll find yourself holding keys you thought belonged to someone else. You'll realize the door didn't just open, it was always open. You just needed faith to see it. You're not crazy to trust God. You're not delusional to believe He can do it. You're not irresponsible for walking away from what's familiar to chase what's divine. You're not wrong for believing that doors can open without connections, without qualifications, without explanations. That's not fantasy. That's faith. That's the kingdom. That's how God works. So walk boldly. Walk with assurance. Walk even if your knees shake. Heaven is responding to your movement. The angels are clearing paths. The resources are already moving in your direction. You're not waiting on the blessing. It's waiting on your belief. And when it finally arrives, when the deal closes, when the account overflows, when the harvest is in your hands, you'll realize something powerful. You didn't walk into the door. The door walked into you. Because every step of faith brought heaven closer to earth. And now, what was once invisible is undeniable. And it was never by sight, it was always by faith. Don't let what you can't see make you doubt what God already said. Your miracle is not waiting on money, it's waiting on your faith. The financial doors you've been praying for are not lost, delayed, or denied. They're simply hidden until the appointed time. Keep sowing, keep believing, and keep walking. God is opening financial doors you can't see yet. But soon you won't be able to miss them.